Have you ever felt like life was testing every last bit of your strength? That moment when difficulties seem endless, and even your faith seems to weaken. But what if I told you that it is precisely in these moments that true strength emerges? That's right. What many see as weakness or an inability to deal with adversity is, in fact, a unique opportunity to reveal the inner power that you didn't even know you had. And do you know what the secret is? Resilience. It is what transforms fear into courage and tiredness into a new lease of life. God gave you a strength that many underestimate, even yourself. The question is, how can you access the strength when you need it most? In this video, we will explore together this incredible capacity for overcoming that is already there within you, waiting to be used in the most challenging moments. Prepare yourself for a new perspective and discover the power to overcome. Even when everything seems to fall apart, there is a strength that you carry that you may not even imagine. It is that strength that appears when everything seems to be falling apart, when tiredness screams and circumstances try to convince you otherwise. It is there, quiet, waiting for you to recognize that, despite everything, you do have what it takes to continue. Think about every difficult situation you have ever been through, moments that seem like the end of the road, and see where you are now. The simple fact that you have overcome these moments is proof that this inner strength exists and has always existed. And do you know what is most interesting? Resilience, this ability to resist and be reborn, is something that we cultivate with each experience. Every time you face a challenging situation, you are taking a step towards a stronger and more prepared version of yourself. Imagine it as a plant that, even in arid soil, seeks water in the depths and blooms. Life brings challenges so that you can grow stronger, so that you learn to trust in yourself, in faith and in something greater, like God's promises that never fail. It is a constant training in faith, of knowing that your resilience always makes you move forward. When you are able to recognize this strength, you realize that it is the key to facing any situation. However, there are times when our own mind becomes an obstacle, raising doubts and even discouragement. But it is precisely at these times that we can see how much strength we have within us, a strength that surprises us, which is a result of the trust and faith that we have learned to cultivate. Sometimes, all we need to do is remember Psalms such as 91 and renew our courage. After all, inner strength is not just about resisting. It is about trusting that there is a greater purpose. How many times have those voices, both internal and external, tried to convince you that you weren't capable? This is the kind of noise that weakens you, makes you lose focus, and distances you from your purpose. There is wisdom in ignoring these voices, in rejecting any opinion that doesn't strengthen your faith and hope. Think about the following. If these voices don't bring you peace or move you forward, why listen to them? Remember, the only ones who know your potential are you and God, who always sees beyond the circumstances and sees your heart. It's curious how doubts can become great obstacles, often created by your own mind. That feeling of inadequacy, of not being enough, can arise from your own fears or even from the opinions of others. But if you stop to think, you'll see that each person lives their own battle and can project their insecurities. Therefore, know how to select what deserves to be absorbed and what should be left aside. If you can, use faith as a shield. Declare your strength and confidence every day and make it clear, even to yourself, that you are on the right path, supported by something greater. Sometimes, silencing these voices requires practical action, such as choosing where to invest your time and who to share your struggles with. Try to surround yourself with people who encourage you, recognize your efforts, and believe in your abilities. A good exercise could be to list your achievements, all those you have already achieved, no matter how small, so that it is clear how capable you are. This simple but powerful act helps you realize that negative voices have no place where there is gratitude and faith. True courage is like a flame that persists, even when fear tries to extinguish it. Contrary to what many people think, courage is not the absence of fear, but rather the strength to face it. Imagine someone about to make a difficult decision, butterflies in the stomach, doubts, These are natural sensations. But what distinguishes those who move forward is the confidence that, with faith, each step finds its direction. Courage arises from the conviction that, even without seeing the future clearly, God is ahead, guiding and sustaining. In the midst of uncertainty, faith becomes an anchor. It prevents the person from getting lost in the storms of doubt. Fear may even be an alarm that goes off, but courage is the fuel that allows us to move forward, overcoming the limitations that fear itself tries to impose. A good example is someone who, faced with a new challenge, even with fear, decides to take the first step. This act is courage in action. Following, trusting that the path will open one step at a time, with the certainty that one is not alone on this journey. When fear threatens to paralyze, it is time to remember that courage also means flexibility and adaptation. Instead of resisting the unknown, one learns to move with it, adjusting one's focus, seeking to learn whenever necessary. That decision to take the next step, even without having all the answers, is a form of wisdom that is strengthened by faith and grows with each new obstacle overcome. After all, courage and faith walk hand in hand, showing that, no matter how great the fears may be, they never overcome the strength of the trust that comes from God. Divine strength is an inexhaustible source that sustains us in every moment of weakness. When everything seems to be falling apart, it is this trust in God that renews hope, giving us courage and clarity to face any situation. It is like the deep roots of a tree, which remain firm even when strong winds arise. Each prayer is a direct connection, a reminder that we are not alone and that, no matter how challenging the path may be, there is a higher power supporting us. In difficult times, this faith serves as a refuge, a constant presence that strengthens the spirit and dispels uncertainty. Having this trust is more than simply believing. It is a daily surrender, a certainty that calms the heart. Imagine someone who, faced with a problem, decides to stop, close their eyes, and ask for guidance. This simple gesture of surrender brings a peace that words cannot explain, because it is the trust that God listens and acts. Thus, faith becomes a shelter, offering a new vision of problems and challenges. In addition, trusting in God also means recognizing that some things are beyond our control. This surrender relieves the burden of trying to solve everything alone and opens space for answers to come unexpectedly. Divine wisdom often manifests itself through intuition and signs, indicating the best path. With this certainty, each obstacle becomes lighter because there is a solid trust that, regardless of the situation, God's presence illuminates the path. Recognizing our weaknesses is an act of courage that requires humility and wisdom. Our society often values the appearance of unshakable strength, but true strength comes from knowing how far we can go and where we need help. Just like a warrior who assesses his weapons before battle, those who accept their limitations are better prepared for life's challenges. When we admit that we cannot do everything on our own, we open up space to seek support and find new solutions. This acceptance of our own weaknesses also brings us closer to others, creating bonds of empathy and compassion. We all face internal battles, and sharing our challenges makes us more human and accessible. Imagine the impact of someone who, instead of masking their difficulties, decides to share their challenges in a sincere conversation. This gesture creates a true connection and inspires others to also embrace their limitations, understanding that this is part of personal growth. In addition, recognizing that we are not perfect makes us more open to divine wisdom. God does not expect us to be invincible, but rather to have the courage to ask for help and to accept the assistance that is offered to us. He strengthens us in our weakness and shows us that true greatness lies in being authentic, in trusting that He supports and guides us. By accepting our vulnerability, we take the first step toward overcoming barriers with faith and wisdom. Each obstacle we face is like a seed of transformation that God plants in our lives. In difficult times, we are forced to look beyond the obvious and seek answers that we would not find in calm times. It is in stormy days that our strength is tested and, at the same time, expanded. Each challenging experience brings valuable lessons that, if embraced, become true weapons of wisdom, preparing us to deal with new challenges. Today's pain can very well become tomorrow's wisdom. Think about how many times you have been through situations that, at first glance, seemed impossible to overcome. But when you look back, you realize how each of these experiences brought a new perspective, a new learning experience. This ability to see growth in the midst of adversity is what transforms life and makes us more resilient. Facing problems with faith and trust is training for the soul, strengthening our spirit for what is to come. On the spiritual journey, growth is never an instantaneous process, but rather a continuous cultivation of faith and hope. God is always working to shape us, even when we don't realize it. Our part is to remain steadfast, trusting that He will guide us. With each success, we become more prepared to share our experience and help those who are beginning to follow similar paths. In this way, transformation becomes something greater, a process of constant renewal. So, now that you know about the strength you carry, how about putting it into practice? What would your life be like if, when faced with every difficulty, you remembered the power you have and acted with courage, knowing that you are never alone? Perhaps what is missing to overcome challenges is precisely this confidence in who you really are and in the divine presence at your side. Think about it. What could you face today if you decided not to listen to fear and doubts? Now, imagine how your life would change if each adversity became a chance for growth, an opportunity to let your faith speak louder. We want to know what has been stopping you from taking the next step. Tell us in the comments. And if this message touched your heart, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and activate the notification bell to continue receiving transformative insights like this. After all, the path to a life of strength and courage begins with a simple decision to act.